Hi there, and welcome to today's vlog. I'm always appreciative when anybody chooses to listen to watch any of these vlogs, so thank you so much. Now, somebody asked me a few days ago how many t-shirts I have, and to be honest, I have no idea. I've never counted them, and when I've been looking through my cupboards and places I keep them, it's clear that I've got quite a lot. In fact, some of them have already been sorted to go to recycle, to charity shop or wherever. And it's interesting that one or two of my t-shirts have particular memories or associations. And the one I'm wearing now is quite an interesting one. Now let me just let you see. Can you see that symbol on there? I wonder if you know what that represents. Some years ago, when ISIS was all in the news, that fanatical so-called Muslim group who were intent on taking over much of the Middle East, one of the subjects of many of their attacks were those who were followers of Jesus. And apparently when they took over the city of Mosul, they began to particularly single out Christians. And they used to write on the houses, the properties where Christians lived, a symbol. It's that symbol you see there. It's the Arabic letter N, which stands for Nazarene or Nasrani. In other words, they put this letter, this symbol, on the homes of those who were followers of Jesus. And we're told that they gave Christians three choices. They could either convert to Islam, in other words, renounce their Christian faith. They could pay an exorbitant tax, which most Christians, I guess, probably could never afford, even if they wanted to do that. Or they could be killed. And imagine being faced with those three choices. Many Christians chose to escape, to leave the area. Someone who witnessed what was going on and saw these letters N being written on the homes of Christians was so appalled by what was happening. I don't think he was necessarily a Christian, but he started the hashtag on Twitter, hashtag We Are N. In other words, this symbol. So we stand with those persecuted Christians. And this t-shirt was produced by an organisation called Open Doors, which is for many, many years existed to support Christians who were persecuted for their faith. Their founder, Brother Andrew, wrote an amazing book many years ago called God's Smuggler, how he smuggled Bibles into countries behind the Iron Curtain to Christians who had no Bibles of their own. How he courted danger, really, by trying to do that because Bibles were banned at that time. And although the places where Christians are mainly persecuted has changed somewhat over the years, still many, many Christians suffer for their faith. Indeed, Open Doors reckon that around 11 Christians are killed somewhere in the world every single day simply because they are followers of Jesus. They refuse to renounce their faith. That's in Open Doors of a list of the top 50 countries where it is really tough to be a Christian, and I think North Korea is right at the top. Christians in North Korea are regarded as of people to be disposed of. It's really, really tough, and yet the amazing thing is, in so many of these countries where Christians are persecuted, the church is growing. It may be underground, it may be hidden away, but the church is growing. When Christians have to stand up for their faith, the church grows strong. We need to be so admiring of those Christians who want to keep on following Jesus despite all the dangers, the troubles that might get them into. For many, it is a life or death decision. Do I remain faithful to Jesus despite what that may mean, or do I turn away? Now, on the sleeve of this t-shirt is a verse from the Bible. It's from Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 26, and it says, "If one part suffers, every part suffers with it." Paul uses this image of the church, of the body of Christ, as the body of Christ. Many different parts within the body, but all part of the one. And what Paul says is that if we are truly church, then if one part of the body is suffering, the whole part should suffer with it. There's a verse in the Bible that says that we rejoice with those who rejoice, or laugh with those who laugh, but we weep with those who weep. I wonder if we truly do that in any real sense. If we have in our prayers constantly, in our hearts, we are weeping for our brothers and sisters who suffer for their faith, for the 11 people who are likely to die today simply because they follow Jesus and refuse to renounce their faith. Remember that at the grave of his friend Lazarus, Jesus wept. I don't think he was weeping so much because Lazarus had died, because he knew that soon he would bring back Lazarus to life. But he's weeping for the suffering of perhaps Lazarus' close family and friends, the suffering that comes through this thing called death. He was empathizing in a deep, deep way with the family who were mourning. On another occasion, Jesus looks over Jerusalem and weeps as he is so tenderly looking on the people of that city, many of whom who would reject him for their suffering. So the question is, do we even think about our brothers and sisters in their suffering, in their pain, in their anguish, in the terrible choices they may have to make? Do we think of bereaved families whose loved ones have been killed, of those who can't find a job because they're Christians, and that is a no-no, for those who are thrown out by their families because they've become followers of Jesus? Does our heart really ache for our brothers and sisters? Or do we get on with our comfortable lives and just forget about them most of the time? And I'm very challenging myself too. One of the things we can do is to support organisations like Open Doors, Christian Solidarity Worldwide, Release International, who seek to, on the ground, get alongside Christians who are suffering. We can pray. We can get informed. Sometimes we can hear about individual Christians in prison or suffering in different ways. I listened recently to an interview with 2 Iranian Christian women who had been thrown into prison because they were sharing their faith with those in their community and the suffering they went through. So the challenge to me and to each of us is to remember to lift up in prayer our brothers and sisters who suffer for their faith, to do what we can alongside our prayers to support them, but not to forget them, not to turn away from them. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. May that be so. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening today.